So here in Georgia, are we in a buyer's market or are we in a seller's market? So
Hmm.
my name is Alan Richard. I'm the managing broker here at Maximum Realtor and Realtor Partners.
My name's Bing Richardson. I'm the compliance broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
And so when you ask that question, it kind of depends on who's giving you the answers right
According to
there.
Zillow, they think it's nationally neutral right now.
Yeah, Zillow sees that overall the housing market, meaning the number of buyers and sellers matching up nationally, is kind of in a neutral place right now where the number of buyers and sellers match up. Now, when it comes to here in Georgia, Zillow also sees that here in Georgia
We're very neutral.
that we are neutral as well, and so they're seeing us being kind of right in the middle, and that's kind of a weird place for us to be.
Even though, on the average, typically it is 6 months inventory where it becomes neutral. But right now, we're not seeing that. And because there's more inventory on the market and less buyer jumping into the market to
Yeah.
really purchase. And that's what makes it kind of a balanced market, even though we have not hit the 6 month mark yet.
Well, and Redfin just came out and they ranked Georgia as a buyer's market and said,
Hmm.
that and like Ming's point is really on point here. Well, it's what it is we have some disparities in price. And that's what's causing, even though we might need 6 months of standing inventory, we're only sitting at about 4.5 months of standing inventory. So how can we be a buyer's market if we're not even at 6 months? Well, that's because where affordability falls in line
Correct.
here. We don't have 6 months of standing inventory in every single price point. So we have where our entry level and starter home prices, there is a lot more competition there. And right now we have a lot more inventory in the middle and higher tiers. And when you look at that, a lot of our listings are in the middle and higher tiers right now. And because there we have more inventory there, that's kind of shifting us overall into more of a buyer's market in those different pricing tiers. So
And the buyer is not able to make the down payment, the closing costs, and then turn around doing the repair like we did during pandemic. So therefore, it is actually, about home affordability at the end of the day. What can they afford on a monthly basis?
well, and this is also a cause for us to be having a lot of conversations with our buyers as well as with our sellers about what's happening in our marketplace, because it's the conversation is very, very different
Hmm.
depending on what price point you are and depending on if you're a buyer or seller. On one hand, we have sellers, that are like they're like, well, it's clearly a seller's market. Well, if you are pricing a home under $200,000,
Absolutely, all
probably
day.
is, right. And but if you're pricing a home, say over $600,000, it's probably a
Might
buyer's
be.
market, right? I mean, we're just seeing where, but depend now. Let's say this: it does depend on location, because $600,000 in Sandy Springs is not
Nothing.
$600,000 in Griffin, Georgia. They're not the same, right? Okay, we're not comparing apples
Well,
to
it
apples.
also compares on the condition of the property. So if the property is move-in ready and it's, recently rehab, yes, definitely those will go quicker than the one that's have the builder grades and it's been there since 1980s.
Yeah. So like right now, Georgia overall has a home affordability rating of a
B.
B. So the National Association of Realtors came out and they kind of ranked home affordability across the United States. And overall, Georgia gets a B. And now, on one hand, I look at this and I think, man, we've seen property values increase here in Georgia over 54% for the last 5 years. So obviously, affordability is a big deal. But when you compare our affordability nationally, we have really strong affordability. Now, if you've been in Georgia your whole life, you would think, man, affordability is like it would feel really, really painful and really, really difficult. If you are coming from out of state,
Where
our
the cost of
affordability
living,
looks
yeah.
looks really, really good. And so all those years when we were, several years back when we were telling folks, now's the right time to buy, please don't wait to buy. Now they're looking back and doing a lot of, I wish
Oh, I
I'd
should
listened to
have.
you. Yeah, I guess you really were right, kind of thing.
Especially when the interest rate was really,
Yeah.
really low.
But overall, our our affordability is still, there's still really good value for your money here in Georgia. Like I said, we rank ninth in the United States on that factor. But that's not necessarily equating into
Buyer sentiment.
yeah,
So if you were to ask buyer today whether or not it's a good time to buy a property, about 60% of them said they're not quite sure.
yeah. I mean, like there's this new study in where they said, you know, can you even tell? Only 60% of our folks can even tell if it's a good time to buy or not, or 60% can't tell. Let me rephrase that. 60% can't tell whether it's a good time to buy or sell or not. And somewhat, I kind of get that, right? There's a lot of turmoil between government, interest rates, home
Job
prices,
security.
all the talking heads. And if you watch the news and that kind of stuff, it can be very, very confusing about what's going on. Now, because of that confusion, right now, 3 out of 4 buyers, prospective home buyers,
3 out of 4.
say that they're going to,
Wait.
yeah, we're going to wait until either we see prices drop or interest rates drop. We want to see one of those two things kind of happen.
Just remember, even if the interest rate drop, the value of the home is going to appreciate in a very slow incline. So even if the interest rate drops for 1%, the appreciation value of the home may be 2%. So you're kind of looking a
Yeah.
little negatively on the trend overall.
Yeah, I mean, we don't see, like right now, we are seeing some flattening in the market, I guess you'd say, because normally this time of year, going into our
Summer
late
months.
spring, into our summer buying season, we normally see prices start to swell more than they are this year. One of the big changes this year is here. Well, it's not just here in Georgia, but overall, we have more price reductions across the United States than, gosh, we've seen in our careers right now.
I mean, Florida is experiencing, on the average, 25% price reduction from the original listing price.
Well, and here in Georgia, 19% of our listings have taken a price reduction, kind of thing. And so, like, just the number of listings that are seeing price reductions, and what we're seeing is the market kind of shape our sellers whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
It is realistically what it is, because for our sellers in the past to be able to say, well, this is my price, I'm going to put it out there, and then they just sit, and then they sit and no one comes and looks at the home, and suddenly they're kind of like, well, maybe I should have listened to our realtor, kind of thing. And so that's why we're seeing such a high percentage of properties with price
Well, and
reductions.
sometimes it's not the realtors. Realtor will go in there and say, "This is a value. This is what I'm seeing right now. This is what the market's doing," and the seller still wants to list it at an X amount price above what the market value holds. So, of course, they will talk about strategy, what we can do, and then after 30 days, there's nothing, and then the seller's like, "Okay." 60 days, they get a little more motivated and start reducing prices. So, and that's what we're seeing right now, is that they're not really listening to the consultation of the realtor and real estate agent. But it's a time thing. They will just have to at some point decide, okay, there's no demand at the price I'm asking for, but at a 10%, a $10,000,
Mm-hmm.
20,000, $30,000 reduction, there is a demand for that property.
Well, and for a lot of our sellers, they want to price their property based on reasons that don't have anything to do
It's a
with
lot of
market reality. Well, and
emotional
it's like,
reasons.
I need to get this much. I want to go buy another home.
I,
I need to get a sell for this amount. Not, this is what the market will bear.
so the premise of the listing is, I need this, not what this is what the buyer's demanding for this type of home and at this price.
See, the challenge is if you overprice your home in this current market, it's going to sit. It's going to get stale. And then that stale listing, buyers naturally just say there must be something wrong when it sits there for too long. And so our sellers are now starting to take a lot more price reductions.
And,
And we are seeing where there is some sellers that are starting to listen. In our industry, unfortunately, there's this old saying, the early bird gets the worm, but the second realtor sells the house. And that's because sometimes our sellers, because we don't want to push too much when we meet with our clients, We don't want to come across as pushy, being like, no, no, no one's going to buy it at that price. And then we end up losing that listing because we weren't firm about the fact that it's price related. It's not because I'm not marketing your home. It's not because of all these other factors. It's because the price too high. That's the bottom line on here, right?
Yep.
So, but
So there are nearly a 500,000 more seller than buyer right now as we look.
if you just look at what's going on in the market, so right now we have around almost 2 million sellers across the nation right now, 1,900,000 and change. Right, we currently have almost 1,000,005 buyers looking on the market right now. It's one of our biggest disparities that we've seen in
In a
ages,
while.
right? I mean, in a long, long time, where we have this many more sellers than we have buyers. Now, if prices, we already saw earlier, if we start seeing some relief on interest rates, that those numbers are going to come closer. We start seeing some relief on pricing, those numbers are going to come closer. We have a lot of buyers sitting on the sidelines.
And the number he gave is pretty much active buyers. That's
Yeah,
not like buyers are sitting on the sideline right now that are qualified, but is not
yeah.
really seriously looking because affordability issues.
Now, one of the areas where we are seeing a lot more sellers than buyers is in the condo market. Right now, there's what, 83% more sellers than there are buyers in condos. So if you have clients looking for the best
Condominiums.
deals, that you're going to find the best pricing deals are going to be coming up over the next few months in condos. See, there is there's the ratio and this trend that follows us from year to year to year to year, and that is it's supply versus demand.
Correct.
But it ends up where we go from supply demand to value. So like if you put it on a graph and look in there, when times when we've had more demand than we have supply, we see prices rise, and when we have more supply than we have demand for, we see prices fall. We are not in a place where we've seen prices fall yet. I don't see, and going into the summer markets, that kind of stuff, I don't see prices falling
Now, I do
now.
see that
But
in
we
the
all do,
fall,
but we
there
see
may
them.
be
We
a
see them
potential.
leveling right now. We see
Yeah.
them very, very flat. Even last month, the Case Shiller price growth came out and showed slower growth. It doesn't show property value declines. We're not looking at property value declines. We are looking at growth slowing when it comes to overall price, though.
Correct.
See, right now we are a market that is in flux, in particular here in Georgia,
Georgia.
right? And so, uh, and
Even though we haven't reached a 6 month inventory, we're currently looking at a very balanced market.
yeah, and honestly, anytime that we have had a balanced market in the past, normally everybody goes a little bit bonkers. They're somewhat nuts.
Everybody's trying to push its boundaries on both sides. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just got to kind of feel out. And this is where a professional realtor and real estate
yeah.
agent is very helpful for our clients because the realtor knows what the temperature and know what is it that their client is willing to do and not willing to do.
And that's why we want to help you right now, because our sellers, a lot of our sellers still think it's 3 years ago, right? And so right now we see a lot of sellers that are overplaying their hands, and I feel that we have a lot of folks in the real estate community that are just being very passive about that, and they're going to lose a lot of listings because
Yeah.
we have to. I don't want to. I don't want to be mean about it, but we have to be firm about the fact of, look, if we don't reduce the price, you're just going to fire me, right?
And
And,
on
and
that, so sellers not once again it's about consultation. You got to pull those data and don't become so emotionally involved where you lose a deal over words or
yeah,
emotional ties to whatever it is. Just sympathize with the seller. Say, I understand what you're telling me, and I know it means a lot for you to when you've done this project and when you live this house, it has a lot of fond memory for you, but take it from the buyer side. The buyer has no memory of this. So for them, this is a product.
yeah,
And, so the buyer right now don't understand some of the arena they can actually play in their position power. Like I said, real estate, and Alan have said this multiple times, real estate is local, local, local. Okay. you got to know what the locality is doing and what the temperature's like in that local area in order to negotiate effectively.
Well, and we really feel that our buyers don't really understand their positions
Mhm.
right this minute. I think that our buyers have a lot more power than they've had in the past. You know, the power of the purse is a pretty strong one right now.
Absolutely.
I think that our buyers need to be, and realtors for that matter, need to be a lot more open minded about um, listings that have been on the market for a long time, price reductions. You know, like if you see a property where it's taking price reductions, maybe go revisit that with your buyer, because that's a seller signaling that, okay, we
We're
tried it,
motivated.
and we are interested in doing it. Our buyers can ask for a lot more concessions than they could in the past. You know, like there was a time like summer 21, 22, that kind of stuff, where our sellers were not making any concessions at all. And if you're going to be smart in selling your home right now, are you going to be making concessions? You are. That's the reason our builders do it for the same thing. So, understanding what's going on in our market, the difference between a buyer's market, a seller's market, all those kind of price points, that's going to be really crucial for real estate professionals right now,
Correct.
because our buyers and our sellers need us so bad, and we have to be stepping up to the plate and really educating and informing everybody.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for turning on to our channel this week. And we appreciate you and look forward to talk to you to next week.
Bye bye.
Have a great day.